I would like to ask kind of off the top. I've asked a couple different bands we've interviewed from the UK. Based on our accents, can you tell that we're in two different parts of the United States?
I probably wouldn't be able to know.
No.
No?
No.
Uh,
Bummer.
But
We're
from
I
our
like,
say,
English
mm,
hearing, unfortunately there isn't enough of a distinction in your accent. But yeah, definitely different places.
yep.
yeah, we're like 13 hours from each other.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Right. So
I'm from the Midwest.
I'm
oh,
from the
okay.
East Coast, right? Near Syracuse, New York. So like I'm about 4 hours from New York City.
Right.
So
So we're like a
interesting.
little far distance.
Yeah, just a little bit of a distance apart. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. We've talked about that too. Like the UK has a lot of different areas, but you guys are also compact.
Oh, we are, but the accents you have from like jumping a couple hours up the road is completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just had Jonathan from Fort Hope on, and
Right.
his accent sounds different. And he even talked about that, how his family's like, "Oh yeah, your accent's way off than ours," which is
Yeah,
weird
yeah.
because it's all as in a family.
Yeah, yeah. I had it a lot growing up, like because I'm from Somerset in the UK, and a lot of people have quite strong like farmer accents in Somerset. And I grew up in Somerset, but had family from all over the place, and I ended up sounding to a lot of my friends like quite London instead. And I used to get asked all the time where in London I was from, and I was like, "I'm about 3.5 hours away in Somerset." It's very different, very different.
Yes. It's fun having an accent.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get this party started, right?
Yeah.
So first and foremost, could you please introduce yourselves and the role you play in the band?
Yeah, I'm Tobias. I am the vocalist in Lovelost.
And I'm Sam. I'm the guitarist and sometimes doing backing vocals if I don't mess it up.
And what is Love Lost origin story? We're interviewing bands prior to being in Love Lost. So
I was in a sort of metal project called In Fear. Um, Sort of did all the sort of same things, yeah, Radio One, Kerrang, and all that kind of stuff. And then that eventually fizzled out over, I think it was like 7 years we were doing that for. So that was kind of just, yeah, kind of fizzled out because we gotten to the point where I don't know, just got exhausted with it. And me, myself, just got exhausted with doing like the heavier stuff. And I want to do something a bit lighter, a bit more fun rather than uh, bleeding my hands out doing fast riffs 24/7 on a huge bass every night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done lots of different projects spanning all different genres and stuff over the years. And worked with lots of different bands in kind of different ways, whether it was doing songwriting for them or doing like production and stuff, or doing like additional writing and things like that. And then I was kind of like not really doing any projects, just kind of writing by myself for a little while. And Sam approached me about maybe doing some stuff. He was like, "I know you write a lot of the kind of like emo sort of stuff, and I'm looking at moving away from doing like heavier things." And at the time, like In Fear was still like going full force, and it was just going to be like a little side project sort of thing, which was good for me at the time because I was just dealing with a lot of stuff in life. So we were just kind of like having a bit of fun with it. And then once the songs really started kind of coming together, and everything within Fear started to kind of like fall away, we were like, I think actually like these songs are really cool. We need to like kind of maybe do a bit more with this than we were initially kind of thinking we were going to. And yeah, it was just me and Sam to start off with, and then we got our drummer Ed in the fold, and then Anthony joined shortly after on bass. So
Nice.
yeah.
So since you mentioned talking about songwriting, are you the writer in the band then?
So I do a lot of the songwriting at the minute, yeah. But what happens is I will write something, and usually it ends up being a full song within a couple hours, and then I'll just be like, "Yo, I've written this. I'm really hyped on it." Like, but what do you guys think? and then it ends up going to like the group stages of, yeah, this is cool, but I think you've kind of maybe gone a little bit over the top here, or not enough here. Maybe we should like do something different in this section, because it kind of feels maybe like it's just kind of slotted in for the sake of it. And it usually just goes from being like this skeleton that I then get all this feedback that we then start to put actual kind of like flesh to it and turn it into something more. And that's, you know, it's a really, really cool process, because it means that it's not just me going, here's the song, that's how it's going to be, learn to play it. This is something, what should we do with it? How can we make it more of a collective, you know, sound and stuff like that? So, but everybody's started kind of pulling their weight in different areas as well, and starting to kind of merge across. So like my writing style is started to kind of lean a bit more into how everybody else likes to play things and stuff as well. Like the more time we've spent together, the more I've got to hear how Ed likes to play his drums and what sort of things he gravitates to naturally, so that when I'm writing, I'll then try and write parts that feel more like Ed than what I would play necessarily, and things like that. And likewise, Sam has very much taken on a lot of writing roles as well, and taking stuff from what I've done previously and is like working it into how he writes stuff. So it's becoming like a really nice organic sort of collective, which is, it's really, really nice. It's a really, really like natural flowing way for us to be doing things.
I think the writing's more cohesive like that as well. You get like one kind of song with a clear image, and then everyone comes in and sort of just elaborates on it. Whereas I think having, and I'm sure Tobias is the same, when you write in a group of people in a room, it almost, you get half as much work done because everyone's sort of chipping in as you're going along. That kind of like phrase, too many cooks in the kitchen sort of thing. Whereas someone just does something, finishes it, and then we all come together to sort of elaborate on it. You'd probably save half the time, or at least in our case, I think we do.
Yeah, like too many hands in the cookie jar.
Yeah.
I love all those phrases, though. It's like, oh, I feel like those are those like Americanized phrases?
Oh, I don't
Chris,
know.
do you think?
I think there's like British and American versions of it. It wouldn't surprise me.
So your debut single Burn Bright released just a few days ago from when we're recording this. Just for listeners' sake, we're recording this March 10th. The single was released on the 8th. When can fans expect more songs from you?
They are in the works. I can't give any explicit dates as to when they'll be out, but there is more stuff on the way. We are working on more stuff, and whether it turns into an EP or anything like that, or just as a singles thing, or, you know, we're just working on as much material as possible. And then if we want a body of work, we've got that. If we want to then revisit and, you know, maybe elaborate or change on the sound, that's what we're going to sort of move to. I think there's like, when it comes to new music and stuff, you've got to be somewhat flexible for the industry.
Right.
Because tastes and things change all the time. So
Definitely.
I think it's having your sound, but also like being flexible with the, you know, the sort of like ebb and flow of everything.
I'd love to get your perspective on that. We've gotten some feedback from bands over the last few interviews where do you find it more so these days being like a singles game versus releasing an EP to get the music out there? Do you see a trend in the music industry that way?
For me personally, I think bodies of work are good, like an EP, an album. It's nice to have something that's like cohesively together. The songs tell a story as one unit, but maybe releasing them in a singles format that then make an EP is probably best, because I don't know about everyone else, but obviously media is pushed towards like short, quick, snappy, give it to me now sort of thing, you know, with things like TikTok and all that kind of stuff. So I think having a body of work, but then dividing it to make it digestible and quick and you can give it to the masses is just way more effective for, well, almost all forms of media really now, for whether it be music, entertainment, any of it. It's just the quicker you can give it to people, the better. Unfortunately, you can't have like 4 years between one song and another, or an album or whatever. It's just, unless you've got the fans for it. But yeah,
it's true.
It's kind of not feasible now, really.
I kind of think of the singles game as more of like you could leave everyone wanting more. And
Yes.
you know that something else is coming, but you have to wait for it, and it's like suspenseful, and it just makes people want to hear it more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the way that like streaming and everything works now, with doing it as releasing a single every so often and then building up into like a full body of work or whatever, it's just it helps so much with kind of unfortunately playing into the game of it all now with like streams and numbers and reach and all of those sorts of things that you have to account for on the internet, like getting yourself into these playlists and getting yourself onto people's release radars and stuff like that, having more material to spread out over a period of time just kind of helps with that engagement and like you said, like keeping up that excitement and anticipation for more music. Like
Mhm.
I'll never stop loving getting a whole album and it being like a story where you get to just listen to it front to back and songs roll into each other and it's got interludes and stuff like that. I'm always going to be a sucker for that kind of thing. But I think, unfortunately, I'm in the minority of listeners for that sort of thing now, where I would rather someone gave me that because it's just become like such a like high demand sort of culture now in music listening, which it definitely isn't a bad thing. It's just how you've got to kind of navigate it all, really, I guess.
I think I understand that because I'm like an elder emo,
Yeah,
like I like to physically have like a CD in my hands because I actually still have a
Yeah.
CD player in my car.
yeah.
So I mean, even if I want to listen to music, I don't really have the option to like stream the music in my car. So I have to have
No.
that physical copy. So I like that physical copy, but I don't know if that's just an age thing nowadays.
Like, I have comfort in knowing that, once upon a time I would walk around with my CD Walkman and my wallet, CDs in my bag all times, and I really do miss that as a thing. I think having access to everything so immediately kind of takes away a little bit of the kind of the specialness of it, and that waiting for the big moment for a CD to come out, because it used to be that you'd only get to see like 3 singles and then
Right.
you would have to wait for the rest of that 12-track album to come out on the CD, and then you would just get to sit down and immerse yourself in all this lovely new music you hadn't had before. Whereas now, a lot of the time, you end up with getting 5 to 8 songs from that album coming out before you then get the album, which it's both its negatives and its positives. But I will always just want to be that, listening to an album in full, getting as much new music in one go in my system is just
Right.
a different feeling.
Plus, you got to
Yeah.
flip through those CD cases in your car while you're driving.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Choices on the
Yeah.
fly.
I'm the same way with my media too. I'd prefer bodies of work. It's funny because it hasn't just impacted music. Quick side tangent. It's also affected like the skateboard industry, where like
Yeah.
now it's like everything is like a skate clip. You got to get a clip, whereas like they don't put out full length videos anymore. And like it was so much better to sit and watch a full video for 45 minutes to an hour than like scrolling through Instagram and watching like 5-second clips for an hour or something like it doesn't compare.
No,
Waiting
I agree.
if your favorite skate magazine to release their DVD or whatever every 6 months or so that you could just sit
Yeah.
down and load of skaters doing stuff for ages. It was great. But yeah, now like all magazines have kind of, not all magazines, but a lot of the magazines have just kind of transitioned to being online and get a lot of their stuff through their Instagram reels and stuff, rather than putting out like full length DVDs or anything like that anymore. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can get you there.
The internet.
Pretty much.
It's great and awful.
Yeah, yeah.
It's good and awful. Well, what isn't awful is your new single. I really love the single.
Thank you.
It's not awful,
As
like,
well.
the
Yes.
internet.
Very professional, very, very professional translation.
And I also had another question though. Who came up with the concept for the Burn Bright music video?
Oh,
Predominantly you, Sam, and
yeah, it was basically taking the lyrics and kind of being a bit on the nose with it being called Burn Bright. So I was like, yeah, let's have some candles in there. So, but I think the main thing for the video was because the song itself is kind of melancholic, but like a sense of comfort in it. it was creating those like warm tones in the video, relaying that to the videographer, who's a great guy, and worked really well with us for that. Yeah, just kind of trying to create that sadness, but with like the kind of comfort of the warm tones and feeling kind of homely, I guess is maybe the word, but it's that mixing that sadness and softness and kind of trying to blend it together without trying to make it just, like you've got like you go for like a blue wash or something, so it just looks miserable and all that kind of stuff, which would fit, but then I think leaning into more of a overarching vibe and stuff like that was more the focus, really.
Right. I like the candles. It was a good touch.
Yeah. So, we shot that video and like we were really, really hyped on it. And then like 2 days later, Bring Me the Horizon started putting up pictures of their Kool-Aid video where they've got all the candles all around them. And I was like, how has this happened? How has this happened with like candle ideas combining? And then
great minds think alike.
Yeah, their video was absolutely insane because it was all obviously about like the whole Kool-Aid cult thing that they were doing, which is very, very different vibe to what we were going for. But yeah, I was just remember just standing in that room with all those hot candles because it was surprising how warm that amount of candles can make a room. And then a couple of days later, just seeing Bring Me the Horizon with like 7 billion times more candles. And I just thought, I do not envy you guys. I do not envy you.
Yeah, they were annoying as anything to light.
Yeah.
And I was wearing a knitted jumper as well, and I was just like, I'm gonna set myself on fire. It's gonna happen.
Did you?
No, I didn't. Luckily, I did not know.
No,
I was prepared for it though. I was just, it was gonna happen.
Well, that's good that no one started on fire.
Yeah, no fire extinguishers were used in the making of that video, so it was.
I would have made a cool shot though.
Could have been a great little like, teaser video or something, or a blooper.
Just a blooper reel of me catching a blaze.
Yeah.
Were there any mishaps with the candles? I mean, aside from it sounds like they were hard to get them all lit. Any other mishaps with them or anything?
I think so, actually.
No, I think we were right. We actually did all right.
So conscious. I know when I was doing like my shots, I was like scared to move out of the little circle that was around me, but because I was circled by candles and was just like, I have a little bit of space around me, but I'm so scared of just kicking one of these over and like setting fire to everything. So I'm just stood there with a microphone, and Kieran, who shot our video, was like, I know that it's a sad song that doesn't have much movement, but you do need to move a bit more than that. And I was like, kicking these goddamn candles over. I'm just like, but I moved a little bit.
Yeah. Not to keep on the subject of the candles, did you light them after you were in the circle, or did you have to jump in the circle?
You had to jump in, yeah.
Yeah. And so because we started with the shots of the drums in the morning, we set up all the candles around the drum kit and just lit all the candles once they were kind of set up. And then we got Ed to sit there and we were looking through the camera to see what candles looked off and that. So we would move them around. And then after that, they just stayed lit the whole time. And we were just going through, just rearranging these candles around people. And then you would kind of get cemented into this candle prison. You'd have to stand there with your instruments just not wanting to leave until your shots were done. Yeah.
Oh,
that'd be a great name for a band or song, Candle Prison.
Candle Prison.
Let me just
so what are some of the musical influences that you've pulled into your sound?
Oh, this would be one for Tobias, I'd say. He's the man on this one.
It's hard because we've got like such a vast variety of like inspirations and influential bands that like I always really struggle when I kind of sit down and try and narrow down what really kind of pulls into the sound. But like big inspirations are bands like Holding Absence and like Seosin, Under Oath, a lot of kind of like the earlier kind of like mid 2000s post-hardcore sort of bands, ranging through to a lot of like the kind of newer ambient like sort of emo revival sort of bands, I guess. But it really does span from kind of everywhere. I listen to like a lot of bands like Massive Attack and stuff like that, which kind of helps building up like the weird samples and ambient stuff that happens. And then, bands like Bring Me the Horizon and all the things that they're doing with like all the electronic like stuff that they bring in, as well as still having like the big catchy choruses and all that sort of stuff. but a lot of it is really, it's because I'm stuck in my 2005 to 2010 era, and I just listen to all the same bands that I did then, just a lot of it, and trying to kind of spark something new from that. But I never really kind of have a aim when I sit down. I just kind of see what happens, and when it starts to develop into something, I kind of think about like where I could maybe go in the spectrum of things that we listen to, in the spectrum of music that we kind of want to encompass. What direction could it jet off into? Because like we, as a band, we really love the band Fight Star, and they've always been a band that just polarizes throughout their songs between what they're doing. You'll have this really lovely little slow section that's like ambient and nice, and then all of a sudden it's this horrible, like big, like nu metal section, and then it will go into this big, like soaring chorus, and you just never know where you're going to land. And I like to bring some of that kind of chaos over as well, just because it's a bit of fun, isn't it? A little bit of that unexpected, which isn't so prevalent in Burn Bright, but in some of the other stuff that we kind of like work and jam on, it can be a little bit more like, right, we've got to maybe make a little bit more of a transition here, because we've just gone way too hard on making these separate sort of sections. And and it can be really easy to get caught up in trying to make a sound and it end up just not working as well, like wanting to write something that's super like old school emo, and you just sit there and you're like, yeah, I'm going to write this, and by the end of it you listen to it and you're just like, doesn't really work for anything really. It's just kind of a lackluster version of something it could have been, and then you just kind of throw that away and just randomly start noodling and go, oh wait, hang on, here's a song.
There it is.
So I always find it easier to just kind of go in fresh, really, but it also depends on what I'm listening to at the time. If I'm listening to indie, it's going to be more indie. If I'm listening to a lot of heavier stuff, it's going to end up being a bit more metalcore, and then I have to dial it back and stuff like that, you know. But that's what the rest of the band are for. I just throw it at them and go, look, been listening to a lot of this artist. Do you think it's a bit much? And
so pretty much you're stuck in your 2005 to 2010 you've been listening to. So fans can expect new songs coming out to potentially be a big old surprise.
Yeah. Basically.
Of how they might sound.
Yeah, we're never like trying to stick to one sort of specific area, really. Like we want to have a collective Lovelost vibe going on, which I think we've kind of worked out pretty well and encapsulated in a lot of the stuff that we have been working on. But we want all the songs to have kind of their own sort of standing as well. I mean, some of the songs, it's a lot more obvious what kind of vibes we were going for. But yeah, it's definitely like a good collection of different sort of sounds and styles that we all love and just kind of want to use, you know, and want to have in our discography and stuff like that. So it's just going to be interesting to see what out of that does end up kind of going out and what people seem to like the most.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned a little bit of chaos being pulled into that influence. I'm curious, it's at the top of my mind because it came onto my playlist yesterday, and actually, Jess, it's the band I sent you that picture of while I was in my car. Have you guys heard of or listened to The Number 12 Looks Like You?
No, I
haven't heard. No.
So they were an American grindcore band, and they have the most chaotic vocals and like the songs for the most part, but they put smooth jazz riffs in the middle of their song. So if you ever really want to give yourself like a complete out of body, out of mind experience, definitely check them out. It's just the weirdest combination, and it worked, at least for maybe, you know, the 3% of people who think it worked. But it's great. A good introduction is their cover of My Sharona.
Okay.
So yeah, if you wanna check them out.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of like bands like See You Space Cowboy. It's a really, really good reference of that sort of like emo screamo sort of thing that was happening as well, where you would have these completely all over the place vocals. They go from screaming to just kind of shouting in a voice tone and talking to then go into this sort of like indie disco section, and then all of a sudden you've got this breakdown happening that makes no sense, and it's just chaotic discords everywhere. And I fucking love that sort of stuff. Like I really, really love making that sort of thing. It's a little bit too chaotic for what we do, but trying to interweave that sort of that sort of idea into a slightly kind of smoothed out kind of thing is definitely something that I like to try and work into some of the songs. But yeah, I'll definitely check that band out.
So sorry. So speaking of, you know, music and everything still, our next question, we'd like to give a shout out to the home team for giving us a twist to the question I'm about to ask. How would you describe your music to a grandma on the street?
Christ.
Good old grandma.
I always remember how I would describe my old band to my grandmother, which was just, oh yeah, we've released some more shouty nonsense. Basically, that was how I described it to her. I wouldn't have a clue with this one, to be fair.
Yeah, to people who have absolutely no insight into sort of like the alternative or metal or emo sort of world, like I always just kind of describe it as like just cathartic emo whinging over ambient niceness. And you know, saying that to a grandma, she might understand everything but the emo bit. But yeah, I don't know. That's a difficult one. Like with metal
Just
band,
sad music.
yeah,
We're just making sad sounds, Grandma.
yeah,
Sad music.
it's not got too much of that shouty nonsense. There's a little bit, but I think you might be able to get over it. It'll be all right, Grandma.
So, being from the UK, what is an American thing you've always wanted to try or experience but haven't gotten the chance to?
Ooh.
I can tell you one thing. People tend to say the cereal as being number one, like the American cereal.
Yeah,
You're not missing much.
that was definitely something that came into my head, to be fair. But
Certain foods, I think.
Yeah, I think the foods are one. I think we've like, I don't know, the UK and the US have kind of adopted a lot of things from each other, like over the years anyway. So we're kind of like slowly stealing your fast food restaurants over here and stuff like that as well. I don't know. I've always like wanted to probably be cheesy and do the old Route 66 and things like that, like drive that kind of thing. Um, Probably the American skate parks as well. Damn sight better than a lot of the UK ones.
I
Ours are quite
still
boring.
I still want to experience Route 66. I haven't done that yet either.
No.
for me, it'd be all of like the peanut butter based amazingness that is in America. I love peanuts and peanut butter stuff. Unfortunately, my wife is definitely allergic to peanuts, so I don't really get to enjoy any of that anymore. But anytime I watch anything American and they're eating some crazy like peanut snack, I'm just like, oh my God, what I would do to enjoy that peanut butter goodness. Yeah.
Now
Someone,
you mentioned the American skate parks. See, because I would love to go over there, go over to London and do like South Bank,
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
but
We don't have like that many like really great outdoor sort of skate places and stuff. I mean, there's not crazy amounts of indoor ones, especially around us. We're quite like out in the sticks sort of thing. So like you get there's a couple cool like local skate parks that might have like a few interesting sort of bits to it, but there's never anything massive or outstanding. Or you've got Mount Hawk, which is down at the base of Cornwall, I think, which is like a big Tony Hawk park indoor in the UK, which I still have yet to go to. I would love to, but haven't been there yet.
We've got quite a few like decent, I suppose, like flatland skating, sort of like in the cities and stuff. But
It's just street stuff.
yeah, the street stuff. But the cities are slowly making that less skater friendly. You get the blocks on the rails and the curbs with the sort of like
Yeah.
metal chunks on them and stuff
yeah.
like that as well. They're slowly sort of trying to kill off that kind of fun.
Yeah.
The fun. I'm not a skater, so I
I've always
tried a long time ago.
I
Not
used to be when I was younger. I just fell off too many times after that, and I was like, nah, it's time to retire that.
Yeah, for me now it's mainly about cruising and maybe like pumping around a park, but the
Yeah.
trick days are behind me. I've got scars up and down my shins that just Nope.
Not doing that again.
No.
I love the culture of skateboarding so much, and like the fashion and everything. And I've always loved that side of it so much, but I am so bad at skating, and I always have been. Like, I could maybe do some really basic stuff, but the most you would get me to do was be able to stay on the board. And one of my like close mates when I was a kid growing up, and like it still is now, he just carried on skating, carried on. He's like a skate coach and stuff now, and does loads of really cool stuff. And I've just always been so jealous of the fact that he was just able to constantly just get up and get back on the board and do stuff, and not get the same like horrific anxiety I did about coming off and like smashing my face in or something.
I work at a thrift store and people donate like skateboards or like longboards all the time. And I literally stepped on a longboard the other day and I'm like sitting there like, yeah, I'm not doing this. I'm like gonna fall over. I don't have the balance I used to have.
Yeah.
I don't want to kill myself at my job.
No.
You know what I'd love to try? Have you seen those mountain boards where it's like a
Oh.
longboard, but it's got really big like terrain wheels? I'd love to try one of those. I know I'd eat it, but I want to give it a shot.
Oh yeah, there was this weird thing that came in. It like folds up and it's got these two weird wheels on it, and then it folds open. You're supposed to put your feet on there, and then you're supposed to be able to like swivel back and forth and like
Right.
ride it. And I'm like, what? I looked up the video for it, the
Oh yeah,
YouTube video
ripstick?
for it. I don't think it was a ripstick, but maybe it was. I don't know. It was weird. I'm like, wow, that looks like I would die.
As soon as I see anything like that, I'm like, yeah, instant death. Instant.
Right? Instant death. I don't even have to be near like a cliff or anything. I'll just end up in front of a car and it'll smash me.
Absolutely.
It'll smash me. So us being Americans, what's a UK thing we should try and experience?
Don't know.
Don't know. There's no good
I-
experiences in the UK besides maybe going to like a festival in the UK, because we've talked about the festivals over there too.
I think bias from being like we're kind of in the countryside, so I'd say like a lot of the countryside towns are quite nice and quaint. Like they're quite small, they're all sort of like cozy and stuff like that. All the small pubs and things you'll go into, and you know there'll probably be like a box room of space to order a pint or a drink in, but it's warm. There's a fire on the go, sort of thing.
if you
I
want to
think those are
feel
the nice things to me.
if you want to feel like you're in the Shire in Lord of the Rings without having to go to New Zealand, you just come to Somerset and it is the Shire basically.
Hey, I'll have to remember that.
Yeah, the southwest and like all of the like, because I live in the southwest, I spent a lot of time here. There's loads of lovely sort of like places and stuff. There's like really like quaint and nice sort of countryside towns and like old rural areas and stuff that are really lovely, to be fair. Otherwise, I don't know. I don't have much love for the UK.
I've tried cooking some of like the I don't know, the classic food, if you will. So like Yorkshire pudding, treacle tart I've made, just things here and there that I've looked up. I've had a friend since the MySpace days who lives over there somewhere. I'm forgetting where exactly now. And she told me to find Jaffa cakes. And so I searched up and down like stores, and we have like little imports in some of our grocery stores, and I did find some. But yeah, I mean that's about my extent of what I've been able to experience is what I make myself. So-
Yeah.
Have you guys made it out to any of the festivals over there?
I've not really been to many festivals, to be fair. I've been to like a few of the like not particularly like rock ones and stuff. But I've never made it out to like Reading or Download or anything like that yet. I will one day, for sure. I nearly went to Download 2021, but it was the weekend before my wedding. And I was offered tickets, and I was like, I mean, I really, really would love to go, especially considering Deftones were one of the headliners. But I was like, I've got a lot of stuff that needs to get sorted. So I can't really just leave my wife to go to Download and leave her to organise everything for our wedding the following weekend. So alas, I didn't go.
She probably wouldn't have been happy with you.
No, she really wanted to go as well, to be fair.
Oh,
Yeah, double would have not been happy.
I was gonna say happy wife, happy life, but that doesn't work for that scenario since she would have wanted to go with you.
Yeah.
I've been to a few of the festivals in the UK, some smaller ones, some bigger ones. They're all just a pretty good laugh. Played some smaller ones and stuff, but like in previous thing. But yeah, from what I see online, they're a bit of a different experience to American festivals.
Oh yeah.
We're a bit
Ours ours
rough.
are really big. Like when we were young festival was
Yeah.
huge when it
Yeah.
first came out. It's still huge.
Really, honestly, I'm still, even though I've seen that it's a genuine thing, I'm still convinced it's some weird sort of scam thing. Like it just doesn't, it never looks real. How can you have that many of these big bands there and then extend it out to another day and then it actually happened?
All right.
Bewildering.
But everyone thought it was fake when it first
Yeah.
came out.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
appeared. It just appeared out of nowhere, and we're like, yeah, by the way, here's like all of your favorite bands.
They kept it quiet. They were good at that, I guess, keeping it under the covers.
Yeah, it's what I'd
Well,
love like
that first year, I'm pretty sure a bunch of the bands said that they weren't even aware they were playing. Just all of a sudden, the flyer came out, and they're like, "I guess we're playing."
yeah. That was one of the things that I was just like, surely it can't be real. If these bands don't know they've been booked for this huge lineup, like surely this has got to be fake. Like someone's just made this in Photoshop and just gone, I'm gonna have your money now.
They must have taken inspiration from Wayne's World, you know? If you
Yeah.
book it, they will come.
Yes.
It's true.
Another thing I'd really love to do is the Emo's Not Dead cruise.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
that's just happened again, and I'd love to go to that. I'd
Me
love to play,
too.
but I would just love to attend. Just
It looked really, really fun. And of course, my favorite band was, playing every night.
yeah. It's just
Only if Story of the Year's on it again.
yeah.
Because they're my favorite.
A good choice.
Yeah, choice.
So, if your music could summon a mythical creature, what would it be and why?
Oh.
Probably be like a really, really, really bad demon, but not like as in an evil demon, as in he's bad at being a demon, and all he would do is just apologize for everything. I feel like that's the kind of vibe. They just come up and I'm sorry, I've got to do this really horrible thing, but I don't like it.
An apologetic demon.
What do you
A
think,
demon
Sam?
with bad anxiety, yeah.
Yeah.
A demon
Oh,
with
I
bad
love that.
anxiety. That's a good one. I never thought about it getting that kind of answer out of this question. So that was our last question, but is there anything else you'd want to, mention, say, anything?
No, just really thank you for having us on, guys. It's been a pleasure, really.
It's been very-
It has
Yeah.
been fun. Has been fun.
Had to deal with our awkward English waffling through things and things like that.
That's okay. I love interviewing anyone from the UK. It's always fun listening to the different accents and everything too. So I was like, oh, I like hearing how thick some people's accent are and like
Oh,
how
yeah, some
not thick
people-
some of them are.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how like it varies. Like obviously, like we were saying earlier about like America, you guys being so far apart and like us struggling to be able to hear like the difference in the accents there. And like seeing how far and like how massive America is and like how long it kind of takes for the accents to start changing and stuff in between
Right.
places. Whereas in the UK, it's like you go 20 minutes down the road and that's it. Like you're talking to someone that you can't understand because they've got such a thick accent in comparison to you. It's just
yeah.
mad.
Especially out down in Somerset, yeah. You'll be in a town where everyone speaks kind of relatively straightforward. You can hear it. You pop to like the little village 10 minutes down the road and someone's like, oh, how are you doing, lad? Ah.
Yeah. Literally, you just don't know what they're saying at all.